Welcome to Frances Reads Her Bible. Today I'll be looking at Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11 is about the Tower of Babel, Tower of Babylon. Babel, B-A-B-E-L. Remember that Babylon was founded by Nimrod the Great Hunter. Nimrod is a descendant or was a descendant of Ham, the last son of Noah who was cursed by his father. Ham was cursed by his father, and Nimrod is one of his descendants. Nimrod was the founder of Babylonia. So Babylon is Iraq of today, and Babylonia comprises of all Iraq, and then some parts of Syria and Iran of today. It's very interesting to note that Nimrod was the founder of this place, and he was descendant of Ham who was cursed. And Nimrod was a good man per se, because people used to say, "May the Lord bless you or be gracious to you," as he is to Nimrod, the great hunter. He was a great hunter, a great man. The verse 1 makes it clear that at this time, people of the world had only one language and they used the same words. Imagine a world where everyone spoke the same language and used the same words. There'd be like no division amongst races and whatnot. Well, so the people of the world at that time, led by Babylon, which by Nimrod, who was the founder, the king, the ruler of Babylon, according to sources. Some Bibles even clearly stated that, I think. Anyway, so Babylon was founded by Nimrod, and Nimrod is the ruler of Babylon. So they said to one another, "Come on, let's make bricks and bake them hard." So they had bricks to build with and tar to hold them together. And in verse 4, they said to one another, "Now let's build a city with a tower that reaches the sky, so that we can make a name for ourselves and not be scattered all over the earth." So yeah, Nimrod was a great man. I can imagine him wanting everybody on earth to like be powerful. Yeah, let's be great people. Mm. Imagine a people that wanted the tower to reach the sky. I just imagine how tall they planned on making this when we have buildings like the Burj Khalifa and the rest of them that are so tall, and in future we'll have buildings taller than that. So I'm just trying to imagine how tall they wanted to make this building. And very interesting too, they all moved people on earth because they spoke the same language. They moved in unison, in agreement. Language is divisive, or it divides people, as I've come to learn. Like here in Nigeria, if you speak people's language, they'll be so happy. If you go to the market, they even add extra things for you because they are appreciative of the fact that you speak their language. So I'm just imagining how tall this building must have been for God to have come down to see the city and the tower which they had built. They were done building it. They had built it. And God said, "Now," in verse 6, and He said, "Now then, these are all one people and they speak one language. This is just the beginning of what they are going to do. Soon they will be able to do anything they want." In verse 7, God says, "Let us go down and mix up their language so that they will not understand each other." Well, you can say this a divide to conquer method. Because remember, language, imagine if people who were supposedly colonial masters had come to Africa or India and everybody there could speak English. I doubt they would colonize those people. They would come into it's raining heavily, thunder. They would come into an agreement with them. Like, yeah, let's come into an agreement. People speak like our language and all that. Anyways, so in verse 8, God scattered them all over the earth and they stopped building the city. They were still building the city, but the Tower of Babel had been built. So the city was called Babylon. Remember who founded Babylon? It was Nimrod who founded Babylon. He was the leader, the owner, the founder of Babylon. So it was called Babylon because the Lord mixed up the language of all the people, and from there he scattered them all over the earth. I wonder how he was able to scatter them all. It's like, we don't understand each other. People just start moving away, moving away, moving away. Let's find our own place. Or did he send the angels to teleport them to different parts of the earth? I watch sci-fi, I know. I watch too many. So maybe they were teleported to different parts of the earth, or like these people speak a different language from us. Let's go to a place where we can start our own city where we all understand each other, and they start moving to different parts of the earth and dispersed. Before you look at me, I'm like, Francis, do you mean God is like a colonial master? No. I'm just trying to, maybe the analogy was not perfect. God must have seen, remember, God is omnipotent, omniscient, know that he sees the future, he knows the future. So he must have seen something that would have happened, which is why he said they'll be able to do any other thing they set their minds to. They would want more power, they would want this, they would. So he must have seen something that made him decide to divide the people on earth by language. There must have been a reason, and God's reasons are always perfect. So who can tell what would have happened if God hadn't come in and divided everyone and created different languages and said, okay, everybody don't speak the same language. I think that's what they're trying to by creating United Nations. I don't know what effect the United Nations has really had. But anyways, so remember, I think one thing that is interesting for me is that Shem was not the first son of his father. Japheth was the first child of Noah. Shem was the second, then Ham was the youngest. And then the same thing with Cain. Cain was the first, then Abel was the second, but Abel was killed, and then they had another son. Seth replaced Abel. But what's interesting to me is that the first sons never inherited the lineage. As the lineage didn't continue with the first sons. It happened with Adam. It happened with Noah. Shem was not the first son. And you be like, but Shem was mentioned first. Yeah, Shem was mentioned first because he was the most important. I think Bible mentioned these people according to importance. Well, I'll explain better ahead in this episode, in this chapter. So these are the descendants of Shem, who was now the lineage bearer for Noah. You understand what I mean ahead? So the descendants of Shem, 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he had a son called Apakshad. After that, he lived another 500 years and had other children. So let's move ahead and see what happens. So it goes on to delineate all the descendants, but like I said, I only pick out the parts that are important to me. Then in verse 24, Nahor, who is a descendant of Shem, was 29. He had a son called Terah, and then he lived again for another 119 years and had other children. In 26, Terah was 70 when he became the father of Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. But Abraham was not the first son of Terah. Like I said, I believe he was mentioned because of importance. He was a lineage bearer. He was not the first son of Terah. I believe Haran was the first, then Nahor was the second, and Abraham was the last. Abraham was not born when his father was 70 years old. Francis, how do you know? How do you mean? Well, there are other parts of the Bible that talk about this, but let's just move on from what we are seeing so far. Then in 27, the descendants of Terah, who was the father of Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Abram, like I said, it was not the first. Haran was the father of Lot. And Haran, you'll notice as we move ahead what happened to Haran. So Haran died in his hometown. I think Haran had his own city. We'll see that ahead. So, but he died in his hometown of Ur in Babylonia. One interesting thing about the Ur of the Chaldeans, the Chaldeans, I sometimes people call Babylonia Chaldeans, then Chaldeans, Babylonia. But I think the Chaldeans were like a major tribe of people of Babylonia. That's what I think though. But then the Chaldeans were known for astrology and magic. They were very intelligent people and learned. They were open spiritually because to be an astrologist and a magician, man, you have to be able to communicate with spirits, and all that, which will lead us to Abram in the next chapter. So Aaron died in his hometown of Ur in Babylonia, or Ur of the Chaldeans. So Abraham married Sarai, who was his half sister. She wasn't from the same mother, but from the same father. Like, thank God we don't do that today. Mm. And then Nahor married Milcah, the daughter of Haran, his eldest brother, or his elder brother. Remember, I said I believe Haran was the first. So the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah, but Sarai was not able to have children. Sarai, the wife of Abram, was not able to have children. But Nahor married Milcah, who was his brother's daughter. Milcah was also the sister of Lot. Mhm. So it was interesting that people then married from their family. Yeah. So Terah, who is the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran, took his son Abram, his young son, and his grandson Lot. I In my head, I don't think the age difference between Lot and Abram was much, anyways. So he now took the son of Haran and his daughter-in-law Sarai, that's Abram's wife, and they left the city of Ur in Babylonia, or Ur in the Chaldeans, and they went to the land of Canaan. They went as far as Haran. Remember, I said I think that Haran, his son, 'cause for the Bible to say he died in his hometown, it means he doesn't live in that hometown, but he went home and then he died in his hometown. It's like someone who lives in in Nigeria, and Nigeria, and then the person dies in their village in the eastern part of Nigeria, let's say in Imo State. I'm like, oh, so why did he die? You're like, oh, he died in his hometown. That's his village in eastern part of Nigeria, but he lives in a different part. So they settled in Haran, which was in the land of Canaan. I believe this Haran was the city of his first son, Haran. So he settled down there. Haran must have gone home to visit his father or his family, and then he died in his hometown. So we'll move on to the new episode tomorrow. So you can check this out. And as always, this is Frances Reads Her Bible. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay blessed. Bye.